There's rumors circling around this week that a certain Brock Lesnar, the Beast, could be back in MMA. I know nothing about it. Do you know anything about it? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I know. Look, I mean, the original source of that rumor is not exactly trustworthy. Let's put it that way. I know that Brock Lesnar, contrary to what was floated out there on Twitter, has not re-entered the USADA testing pool. However, from talking to people around him, he does plan on re-entering the USADA pool. But look, I don't think that we can use that as an indication that Brock Lesnar is coming back to fight. I think we can use it as an indication that Brock Lesnar has a contract expiring early next year with WWE. Look, he did this last time. He plays both sides against the other. And that's not to say that Brock won't come back. I mean, if it comes early next year and WME breaks the bank and if he has a chance to make $10 or $12 million in one night for a fight, which with the right opponent, he would. I mean, I do think you would see Brock Lesnar back because that's double what he makes, with his WWE contract, but he would make it in one night. But at this point, I think it's nothing more than he's setting himself up to be in the best position possible. Now, I do know that the UFC obviously wants Brock Lesnar back. They are devoid of pay-per-view stars at this point, and they're going to be even more devoid after McGregor. I think he is going to be, I don't think he fights again in the UFC, so they're going to be one more star down. So they're going to have nobody that can break 300,000 pay-per-views. I think they will do everything in their power to get Brock Lesnar. I think they will guarantee him more money than they've ever guaranteed anybody, give him a cut of pay-per-views, and I do believe they're going to try to get him to fight John Jones. I think that is, as long as John Jones beats Daniel Cormier, I don't think they're going to have Brock fight Stipe because that's a terrible fucking idea. They're not going to have him fight Kane. There's not many heavyweights that he matches up real well against.
I'd love to see him fight Francis Ngannou. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about terrible style fights? I mean, now that Roy Nelson's gone to Bellator, like they don't have any real good matchups for him. I do think that John Jones is the fight, and I know that John Jones would jump at that fight, and Brock would too. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think WWE is going to. They also don't want to lose Brock Lesnar because he is a legitimate box office attraction for them. So it's going to be real interesting. But anybody who tells you right now that Brock Lesnar is back in the pool, Brock Lesnar is leaving it, he's dropping the belt at SummerSlam, he's leaving WWE, like that's all a bunch of bullshit. He was not at the UFC offices during International Fight Week. Paul Heyman was not with him there. That is a bunch of bullshit. Don't believe it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this is, right, Brock Lesnar is good at two things. No, he loves two things, right?
Kicking ass and taking names.
Money and being a competitor. He loves those two things. Well, maybe beer as well and other things.
Yeah.
Coors Light, not Bud Light. They're not paying me none. But like Brock Lesnar is a guy who worked the UFC off WWE and got himself a new huge WWE contract and left the UFC behind, and 6 months later came back and fought in the UFC. That's what Brock Lesnar is. He could be doing all of this just to get a new big contract out of WWE.
That's exactly what they're doing.
And then he fights in the UFC again. So, like, both things are on the table. Both things are likely for me. I never thought Brock Lesnar wouldn't be back. I always thought he'd be back. I thought he'd be back sooner, to be honest. But people are saying that who have a better grasp of the whole USADA thing, that he has to put 6 months now in the USADA testing pool before he can fight again.
No, it's got to be. It's not 6 months. So he's got to do a 4 months. He's got to do his 4 months in the USADA testing pool. That's standard. When you've announced your retirement, when you've told them that you retire,
when you're coming back from it, you have to do 6 months, I believe, don't you?
No, he has to. No, it's 4 months, but he has to finish out his suspension first, which was frozen when he told the UFC earlier this year that he was retired. So he's got to, I believe it's 5 months. So he would have to finish that out too. So the earliest he could fight if he went back in the pool today would be late December. And that comes straight from USADA. But he's not going to fight in December. So don't get your hopes up.
Brock Lesnar, International Fight Week versus John Jones next year. It's going to happen.
I mean, I could see it, dude. It's one of those things where if the stars align, you bet your ass that's what the UFC wants.